intention was to create a synesthetic experience of writing or reading a becoming academic text, while challenging academic writing conventions and the limits of the typographic space that traditionally hosts writing language ethnographically.
There are so many different processes going on in any empirical fragment. The participants are navigating so many contingencies that it's actually rather hard to slip into the essentialism and the reifications that bedevil so much social and cultural analysis.
To write language ethnographically, I believe, is in itself an analytical, political and ethical move. It is to subject the phenomenological experience to a hermeneutic frame, to tell the story of a social reality.
I also see interpretation as not just a cognitive and analytical endeavor and tool, but it's perhaps better described as a craft.
We know that all research is the product of the specific researcher, in their particular positionality, their histories and trajectories. I think we could do a lot better in this regard if we take seriously the unfinished, anxious, undecided moments that are fundamental to the research that we create, but which tend to be erased from what we ultimately produce.
I attempted to palpate the messiness that characterizes unaccompanied minor trajectories, as well as the messiness of doing real-world classroom research.
By my brief description of the photos, I have hinted at the richness of the data and at some challenges for investigating and writing about language use in these contexts.
I'm often surprised and challenged by the bits of life that I can hear as I engage closely with what the people in the recording are doing together. But when it comes to passing it on, presenting my findings, explaining why anybody else should be interested, there's absolutely no masking my own argumentative voice.
To paraphrase Gilles Deleuze, I believe that the aim of ethnography is to reveal something interesting and important about our world.
Lots and lots of social scientists are interested in social practice, but I think that sociolinguistics and linguistic anthropology can get us closer to the empirical details of social practice than any other discipline.
I think we need to remain vigilant to radical alternatives being co-opted by the institutions we work in. We need to approach each alternative with the same critical eye that we adopt in our analyses and ask ourselves continually, what or who am I serving here? What theory of power and social change am I assuming through these alternative means of communication? What doesn't work? What is difficult and why?
The participants in our research feel an imperative to tell their stories or to perform in front of us. Bringing in Dory Laub's ideas, I believe that the ethnographer needs to adopt the role of a suitable observer, a witness to the ways in which research participants may wish to act in front of us.
I believe that one of the most powerful aspects of ethnographic sketching is that it is not simply a form of graphical documentation. Rather, it is a way of doing research and of obtaining or even producing knowledge.
Brigitte Bonisch-Brednit talks about the process of ethnographic writing as one of developing negatives in the darkroom, a metaphor that captures a play of techniques, a praxis that brings to life and to light our ethnographic accounts, colouring them in specific ways that shape representation.
A few months into my stay, now in January 2020, I begin to hear about a new disease in China. Restrictions on social life were imposed in both the UK and Peru. In March 2020, in-person Quechua classes must cease. I can no longer do my planned ethnographic fieldwork in 2 rural communities, yet finding these classes online opens up a realm of possibility.
835 feet. Name.com.
In my output, you see 4 photos. These represent data created together with participants in different sites.
To this end, children are perceived as active agents who bring together resources that they have access to by their different membership to different cultural and linguistic groups.
The degree of active participation in the data creation differed from site to site and from one participant to another.
I would also define them as collaboratively produced research data, as I prompted the children and they selected what to capture in the photos and what to bring back and what to discuss in interviews.
I have been experimenting with writing processes that regard various research stages: data collection, analysis, reflection, communication.
When you're looking closely at the fragments you've captured in a recording, you're grappling with something pretty close to the actual stuff of social practice, close to the empirical facts of people communicating.
This is my attempt to write, to represent the texture, the depth and the messiness of the complex social reality of my participants.
My recent ethnographic work has been influenced by the literature on historical memory. This has led to a greater acknowledgement of the fact that the kind of knowledge we produce has to do with what Portelli defines as the psychological truth of the participants in our research. This means understanding what matters to them, the significance of the social relations they establish, and the ways in which they frame their experience.
A final challenge is perhaps related to writing and one of my aspirations and interests is also to find more appealing narrative forms of writing to convey these experiences of being with students and in the lesson.
There's a risk of self-indulgence here, of course, but this is where it's important not to centre the individuality of these processes, because we're always in dialogue. We form relationships with our participants, our colleagues, our peers, our friends, relationships that shift over time, that shape the work that we do and the types of researchers we are or want to be.
The challenges, dilemmas, restrictions, and the potential of writing language ethnographically